Hello and welcome back to this trek into history. On this day, April 19th, it's currently 2024, not that that really matters, but it is a beautiful, gorgeous, sunny day. I don't see a cloud in the sky, and it's just amazing, at least where I'm at anyway. So, yesterday, I had promised that today's day would be full of some tragedy and some celebrity birthdays, and there's some other interesting stuff too. And also yesterday, I had discussed, Paul Revere's famous ride, his midnight ride. Calling all the colonials to arms that the redcoats were coming. So today, on this day in 1775, April 19th, 1775, the Revolutionary War actually starts with the battles of Lexington and Concord. And those were actually the cities that Paul Revere and his companion had rode to notify the colonials that the redcoats were coming, the British were coming. They heard that there was a weapons cache in those areas, and that their aim was to take them, to remove them, so that the colonials would have no means of fighting the government troops. You're going to find that is a very much a consistent tactic all throughout history, in the 248 years since, 249 years rather. So, so that was on this day in 1775. On this day in 1882, if you know history, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then undoubtedly you have learned in school this thing called the theory of evolution. Unfortunately, it's not really taught as a theory any longer in school. It is taught as a fact, even though it is still technically a theory. It has never been scientifically proven to be true. It is an ongoing debate between Christian theologians and secular scientists. Everyone has their opinion, but it still is the theory of evolution. And the funny thing about that is the theory of evolution is the only theory that is ever taught in public schools as a fact. And what does that have to do with today? Well, the founder of that theory, Charles Darwin, who made his great discovery at the Galapagos Islands. Check this out, okay? So he had come up with the theory of evolution that we basically evolved from the ape, based on his findings of studying birds and lizards on the Galapagos Islands. So how he made a correlation that we evolved from the ape is beyond me. The one hole that I could poke in that theory is that evolution, it involves this thing called evolving, as in changing, as in you become something else. So if something evolves, the old thing dies away to make way for the new thing. We still have apes, right? We still have gorillas, we still have monkeys, we still have chimpanzees, we still have orangutans, we have all manner of ape still exists, right? He postulated that that there was also the missing link, the Neanderthal, right? So here's the thing is, like, if the Neanderthal is extinct, why isn't the ape? So, in my opinion, the theory of evolution is bunk, and the creation story still holds true. But then again, I am a Christian, so obviously I'm going to believe that. So, if that's a news flash to some of you, well, sorry, I'm a Christian. go watch some of my other videos, and you'll find that I speak very highly of the Lord above, and I sing his praises a lot. So my little tangent there. The whole point of this was Charles Darwin dies on this day, and he died at the age of 73. Yeah, he died at the age of 73. The interesting thing about Charles Darwin is that on his deathbed, there's another side note. On his deathbed, he said, "Do not publish my findings because I have come to the realization that my conclusions are wrong." And yet, the secular world disregarded what he said to be true and went ahead and published his findings, and then rallied on a narrative that to this day, is, it's a big controversial debate. Whether you want to believe that the Bible's creation story is true, or you want to believe that Charles Darwin's fable of this theory of evolution is true. So, we have some birthdays, all right? Here's where I told you we were going to have some birthdays. So, in 1935, British actor and comedian Dudley Moore. I remember him from the 80s. He was hilarious. He was a funny actor. His birthday is today. He was born in 1935. Philippine President Joseph Estrada was born in 1937. And here is the famous celebrity I was talking about. Darth Vader himself, Anakin Skywalker. Canadian actor Hayden Christensen has a birthday today. He is 43 today. He was born in 1981. Okay. So we have some other tragic events that happened on this day. We have, in 1993, and I remember this because I was still in high school. It was my senior year. I remember that there was a 51-day standoff in Waco, Texas, between federal law enforcement and a compound. They were kind of a militant bunch. They referred to themselves as the Branch Davidians, led by a guy who went by the pseudonym of David Koresh. This 51-day standoff would end on this day in 1993, where 80 Branch Davidians would die. And what happened with that was that the federal government, and Janet Reno, who was the Attorney General at the time, she took it on the chin for that one. She took the blame for that one. But I actually watched the video. So, obviously it's in Texas. It's in Waco, Texas. It's a hot day. The order is given to deploy tear gas, right? So they're shooting tear gas into this compound, into the structure where these Branch Davidians are holed up. Not long after, a fire breaks out and 80 people are dead because, well, law enforcement hasn't cleared the scene, so therefore firefighters couldn't get in there to put the fire out. 80 people die, including children, because David Koresh is kind of a psycho, and he kept his children in there with him. But so here's the interesting thing is like the federal government caught a lot of grief about that. But here's the thing is it's caught on video. I mean, I've watched it myself. They popped the tear gas canister. It went into the window. One of the Branch Davidians picked up that canister and threw it back out the window. Only it didn't clear the roof right below, so the canister rolled, and because it was hot out, the canister was still deploying, it caught the roof on fire. So that's how the fire started, was actually that the Branch Davidian was throwing the tear gas back out. Now, you can cry foul about that. You can say the government's still in the wrong. You know, I'm also pro law enforcement. My stepdad was a policeman. They were executing a warrant. Actually, during that standoff, federal agents were killed in an armed conflict between federal agents and the Branch Davidians. So I have very little sympathy for what happened there. The issue I do take is that this madman keeps his children in there with him, and he basically has them die with him. I take issue with that. But I don't necessarily think that was all on the government. Were the Branch Davidians exercising a Second Amendment right to own and bear arms? Possibly. There was other stuff going on there, but the government did secure a legal warrant and did have a legal right to execute that warrant, and that's what we're talking about here, is that they objected to the execution of the warrant, and 80 of them died because of it. So I've always maintained that it's better to be judged by 12 than to be carried by 6. So here's where, I wasn't a big fan of the Clinton administration, but this was one of those where I can honestly say that I kind of supported their position. Again, it was a legally justified warrant, so I kind of have to side with the government on that one. But that's just me. You can give me all kinds of hate you want. Put them in the comments there. That's fine. We can have a rational discussion about it, or not. So that was in 1991. Excuse me, I said 1993. Or no, it was 90. It was 93. I don't know why I wrote down 91. It was 93 because it was my senior year. 2 years later, another tragedy would happen, and that was the Oklahoma City bombing. I vaguely remember that, obviously, because it was a week before my birthday, and it was a week before my 20th birthday, and I remember how tragic that was. I actually, back in 2003, I went to Oklahoma City. I was there as part of a tour. I actually got to go to the Oklahoma City bombing site, and man, did that mess with my head. So at this site, they have a memorial there. on one end of the site, it says 9:01 a.m. That was the moment before the bomb went off, and on the other side, it's 9:03 a.m. That was the aftermath, the moment after. So the bomb goes off at 9:02. The bomber's name was Timothy McVeigh. He was disgruntled at the government, and I do believe that he had sided with the Branch Davidians. Like he was morally opposed to the government, and I think he felt like he was doing this to avenge them, because he was kind of a nut job himself. He was ex-Army. What it is, he got a rental truck, like one of those big box trucks, and he loaded it full of fertilizer, parked it at the Alfred F. Murrah Federal Building there in Oklahoma City, and he set it off. It exploded. It killed 168 people, and quite a few of them were children, because there was a lot of federal employees there. They had on-site child care for those federal employees. The biggest thing that really messed with my head when I went there was that so they have chairs set up in rows to represent the 5 stories, I think the building is 5 or 6 stories, however many stories it was. They had these chairs set up basically where everyone that was killed was where they were in relation to the building, whether it was outside on the sidewalk or in whatever. And so there was 2 different sized chairs. There was big chairs, there was little chairs, and the little chairs represented the children that were killed. And I had a hard time with that. That messed with my head. Seeing the scope of it, 168 people were killed and over 500 people were injured in that blast. It was a huge blast. It knocked out windows of buildings from multiple blocks away. It was a sad scenario. McVeigh was eventually caught. He was convicted. He was sentenced, and he was given the death penalty. And when asked if he had any final words to say, all he did was the victims that were in the gallery, he just gave them that icy cold stare, like he wasn't remorseful for anything. I mean, he was like, it's like he was Satan himself. And so it was, when he was executed, it really was good riddance to bad rubbish. So that was in 1995. In 2005, and I'm going to end this because this is a long video, I'm going to end this with Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger. He succeeded Pope John Paul II, and in doing so, he became known as Pope Benedict XVI. So I believe he is the current Pope of the Holy Catholic Church. And I mean, if you're a Catholic, you would know this. If you're not, then, well, I'm not Catholic. My grandfather was born Catholic, but he was never really practicing. And so, at any rate, that's it for your day of this Trek in History on April 19th. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, some good history, bad history, birthdays, all that stuff. We will get back into it again tomorrow, April 20th, the proverbial 420. And I got something for all you potheads out there that you may or may not know about 420. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely convene again on the morrow. So, at any rate, have a blessed day. Take care, and thanks for joining me on this trek into history, and we will do it again tomorrow. All right, we'll take care. Bye.